So now that Elena has been out for almost a week now, let's talk about how she's performing so far. To start, she's already has a stat to her name, to be honest with you. Elena by far has become the quickest character to get dropped by most of the pros in SF6. You know, and it kind of sucks, it really does, but at the same time, why is that the case? With that said, we're gonna dive in and whether she's good or whether she's bad, if she's OD or straight trash. With that being said, let's get into it. Because I'm a man who likes to end off on things that are positive, I'm going to start off with her cons to start. So her cons to start is the fact that she requires a high level of commitment. What do I mean by this? I mean that this character has a lot of very specific combos for very specific situations. If you're not aware of what you're supposed to do, you can very well whiff, and when you do whiff, you can find yourself into a situation where you very well might die, right? Knowing what you can go for in specific situations and how to optimize that takes time, takes a lot of effort. A lot of players are simply not willing to put in that amount of time in order to get her to rock. And this is just because, you know what I mean? Like, they're looking for an easy time, not something difficult, right? So with that said, she does take a lot of commitment. Another thing is that unfortunately, when it comes to some of her hit confirms with her target combos, if you're not aware of what target combos are, they're essentially follow-up normals that you can press in different situations like that or like this. Now the main issue is that if you're playing neutral and you happen to use one of these normals but you don't confirm whether or not your opponent is crouching, you whiff. Now, why would this matter if you just confirm it? A lot of people can barely confirm their counter hits, let alone recognizing someone's crouching or not, right? The same thing is with the medium target combo. If you're not aware of whether they're standing or not, you don't know which one you can actually go for. On top of which, you can't drive rush this normal otherwise, right? Same thing with crouching medium kick. You can't actually drive rush otherwise. However, if you get the second hit, you can get the follow-up afterwards. But otherwise, you really can't do anything outside of that, right? That can be a very annoying thing for a lot of players to deal with, and honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to deal with it altogether. One thing to note, however, is that her crouching heavy punch on hit actually forces standing, so it can be a little bit of a good thing to use, especially if you're dealing with someone who's crouching, right? So normally this would whiff, but if we hit this, I need a little bit more meter actually. If we were to hit something like this and then want them to do that, right? That's not the actual combo. I just wanted to show the fact that it will hit now because crouching heavy punch forces them to stand, and because of that, it allows the second part to hit. So that's something that you can keep in mind as well, okay? Lastly, but surely, she does not have the tools that most common top tiers have. What am I referring to when I talk about top tiers? I am referring to the age-old Fireball Drive Rush and our second favorite, Low Forward Drive Rush. Why are these important? Because these are the cornerstones of the game as we know it currently. When we play the game, we already know that your opponent is going to use their fireball to approach, and when they do so, you have to respect the fireball either with parry or you just kind of hold the situation all together. It's a very messed up situation as a whole. So generally you're kind of stuck in that situation. The other thing is that low forward, because obviously you cannot be walking back and forth and crouch block at the same time. So while you're playing neutral with any given character, you can hit a whole low forward drive rush, and then from there, you know, you kind of have to hold what comes next, because after low forward drive rush, if you get the hit, right, you get the entire combo. If they block it, you get pressure. it's just amazing all around, and on top of which it catches people trying to walk back on you. So there's not very many downsides to low forward drive rush, and that's kind of why having those tools is very important. Fortunately, when we're talking about Elena, she does not have access to it, at least not traditionally. We did go over the fact that this will whiff. Now if by any chance the opponent is standing, right, they do get the entire route, and then we can kind of go from there. It's a beautiful thing when you have it. If you don't have it, then it kind of sucks. So overall, it can be very jarring for the player to have to deal with, especially if there's so many things with the match already going on. You have to already contend drive rush, you gotta contend jarring, you gotta contend the person's normals, right? I forgot to mention one last con being that her level 1 is not invincible, which means that basically you would need to depend on DP, level 2, or level 3. Right? Those are your only options, which can make defense a little bit rough. But with that being said, that's all that she don't got. Let's talk about what she got going on. When it comes to her neutral is immaculate, right? It's something that I've been put on recently, is the fact that this normal is great, right? If you are able to pull it off, right, not only is it forward advancing, but it also leads to good damage. Let's not forget about the crouching medium punch. Crouching medium punch is also a great button. It's a good drive rush check. It's also circumvents all sort of like neutral. Is a good footsie tool, so if your opponent tries to say press a normal afterwards, you can punish it, get a route, and now they're in the corner, right? And it's a party time from there. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, of course, when it comes to her confirms, she doesn't necessarily need drive rush cancel in order to get said corner carry, right? And that's kind of the beauty of the character, where you don't necessarily need to default to going for drive rush all the time, right? If you know what you're doing, you don't necessarily need to use this. Obviously, drive rush cancel is good to sprinkle into your gameplay, but either way, you can get into the spaces that you want with punish something and go for something beautiful altogether. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that because her corner carry is so good, her corner damage is equally as good, right? And if you are able to get a semi-decent hit, you can get some really good damage without even breaking the bank, really. Now, with that being said, while she can get great damage off of nearly any hit that you can get in the corner, the other end of it is that you need to know where to go, how to go about it, because otherwise you might end up making a mistake and get punished, right? So people are obviously very hyper aware of these types of things, because if you go for the wrong option, you obviously get yourself blown up. It's very unfortunate that it happens, but at the same time, that's why I say that this character is a high level commitment character that you need to pour some time into, so that you know which ranges you can go for the optimal combo versus where you should keep it safe, right? Once you start to realize these things, you can kind of take advantage of everything that's coming. Either way, these are the things that I would say are very crucial to this character. I personally think that she is OD, so don't sleep on her just yet. Don't give up on her just yet. She has a lot of things going for her. Her punish counter damage, insane no matter where you go. If you can get a single hit into even setting heavy kick into EX Rhino, you get amazing damage off of it, and you honestly party time your opponent. Now, one last thing that I'll add in there is whether or not healing is any good. When it comes to healing, unfortunately, because of the damage decrease off of it that you lose off of it, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that viable of an option. Nearly 9.59 times out of 10, you'll end up going for the damage route as opposed to going for anything else, just because it's not really worth it as of right now. They might see buffs later on, but overall that's kind of where we're at with the character. Anyways, that's essentially the end of the video. Appreciate you guys watching the video. With that being said, if you like the content, feel free to subscribe, and with that being said, any questions?